5 o'clock somewhere, and that means that it is time for Happy Hour here on Loud Poets. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am Dr. Katie Ailes. I am your host for Happy Hour, and if you are unfamiliar with this show, this is our new series in which we take on poetry writing challenges. We offer you guys some guidance on how to complete those challenges. We write them ourselves, and we chat about all of it with you. You can watch all of the episodes of Happy Hour through the link in the eye, and the link is in the description below as well. And please do, if you enjoy this video, like this video and subscribe to the channel. It makes all of us very happy. See how happy Mark looks? He looks full of glee. Let's continue making him that happy. So you may be wondering, what is the current challenge on Loud Poets Happy Hour? Well, it's the Sk8er Boy Challenge. It's the Sk8er Boy Challenge, and we will explain more a bit later what exactly that means. But suffice to say, we have had a really fun 2 weeks. Definitely not been banging our heads against walls. No, it's been fun. And I am joined by a wonderful cast of characters as usual, and I have no idea what they've written, so I'm incredibly excited. First up, I am joined today by a woman who rocks my world. She's definitely nobody's fool, and if you love her, I'm with you. That's right, it's Beck Sherwood.
Hi, it's me.
What are you drinking, Bex?
I went along to the poetry bar,
Oh, did you now?
but it was closed because someone got COVID and they were self-isolating. So I have a vodka cranberry.
Well done. That sounds delicious. Well done. Next
did not
up,
go where I expected it to go.
Oh, nope.
it's the joy of Bex. Next up, I am joined by a man who's complex and nomadic. That's right, it's the complicated and mobile Mark Galley. Mark, is it too much to ask what you're drinking?
I just like the idea my adjectives have been short. I'm now, ooh, he's mobile. I was like, that's, and I kind of went, I'm good. I've got a stein full of Asahi, beautiful Asahi beer. From, yeah.
It's delightful. That
Never
sounds
heard
very
of it.
nice.
Never heard of it. It's right. It's here. It's really good. It's from Japan. It's like a staple there. It's like the one to do alongside your meals and stuff.
Not sponsored, but could be.
Not sponsored, but could be, as it always could be.
And finally, he's unwanted, naked, and losing his grip. It's Kevin McLean. What you drinking, Kev?
That's the first one that hasn't felt hurtful but accurate. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, fair enough. Hey, I am back on because I have not prepared. The poetry bar was shut for me as well, Bex. Back on the Jack and Coke. Pepsi Max. I don't know why I say Coke. It's Pepsi Max. That's what I drink Jack Daniels with. And if you don't like it, well, that's your opinion in it.
Well, sponsor us. Subscribe to our Patreon.
A repeat performance from Kev. Just pointing it out. No shades. Just pointing it out.
Folks, I am, as I said, Dr. Katie Ailes, and I may be a clone that my record label created to replace the original Katie Ailes, but these things I'll never say. I'm drinking rosé, and cheers, guys. Welcome to Loud Poets Happy Hour.
Cheers.
Can I just point out, Katie, that as someone who deliberately, over the last 2 weeks, tried to learn as little about Avril Lavigne as possible, I didn't understand any of your intros, and you sound insane. Just so you know.
But for me, it's so
actually
nice.
none
I
of
knew
those
they were puns.
Avril references. None of them. That's just all me.
But they were all puns. I felt pain on each one, and I didn't understand them either.
Good. You should feel that pain. Guys, whether at home you are drinking an alcoholic beverage, a cool glass of maple syrup, or just eating some poutine, welcome to the show. We are mostly going to be
Avril Lavigne's Canadian. Everyone looks confused. I just need to know.
See what I mean?
Guys.
See what I mean?
Sponsor
She
us.
seems insane.
Keep up. I didn't
I
even
just saw
need to
them
do
just
research.
like-
This is just my teenage years. I have the strongest memory maybe not the strongest, but one of the strongest memories that I have of being a teenager is sitting in the back of my parents' car, driving through like French areas of Canada, listening to Avril Lavigne's Let Go and Under My Skin on repeat on my Walkman, and being in an emo mood because we were like visiting family grave cemeteries and stuff. And I was like, this is a boring vacation. I just want to
Were
listen
you
to
looking out
Avril
of the window and hoping it rained so you can pretend that there was a camera
Yes.
following you and you were really moody and
constantly.
not that
Yes.
I've ever
No.
done.
This is not an episode for the boys, is it?
No.
Not even remotely.
I don't know.
We just
I
cry
know
in
Tyrone
private
is
like cool
very
people.
into Avril Lavigne. It turns out far more than I knew, but it's great.
I should probably get to the poems now. So yes, guys, welcome to the show. The point of the show is to share new poetry. So it is very much like a writer's group where we write to these challenges, and we really hope that you guys are writing along as well. We know that this challenge is sort of out of left field, but we hope that you've gotten something fun out of it. If you haven't seen it yet, I did a 5 top tips video where I sort of broadened from the specifics of the Sk8er Boy challenge and instead talked about pop culture and poetry. That was a lot of fun, looking at poetry about Beyonce and Serena Williams and Marge Simpson and Robert Pattinson and, you know, various figures from pop culture. So do check that out. And then
are you going to mention the specific pop culture person that watched the happy hour? If you're watching this, you're in good company. Katie, explain.
I mean, if you bring it up, Raphael Bob Waxberg, the creator of BoJack Horseman, did watch that video, and he has great taste. So
he gave Andrew Blair, he tweeted Andrew Blair saying like he loved the Robert Pattinson video, which he is right to. It's amazing.
Great. So
but it was just, it's really cool to see. I love when people sort of engage with, like, you know, more random stuff on Twitter and stuff. It's good.
Yeah, especially for someone like that at the peak of his career who has this amazing creative output to engage with us is pretty dope. So yeah, it has been a fun week full of unexpected challenges.
Yeah, please subscribe if you're still watching this. Tweet us, we'll be your pals. Be great. BoJack is awesome.
We
anyway.
love pals. We love pals. So basically for this challenge, I'll explain a little bit further in case you guys haven't seen the 5 top tips or the check-in or our last video. So in the Sk8er Boy challenge, Tyrone Lewis asked us, challenged us, prompted us, provoked us really to write poetry extending the universe of Sk8er Boy, or giving the characters more backstory, or elaborating on how they met, or just otherwise taking this song as the source material and doing something with it, right? So that has been the Sk8er Boy challenge. And yeah, as I said, I don't know what these guys have written, so I'm very excited. Mark, I'm gonna start with you. How's your couple weeks been?
It's good.
Can I just point out, Katie, that was probably a really good intro, but no one in the world heard it because we were all just watching Munchie get up on the couch.
That's true.
Yeah, I was like,
That's
all
true.
that was happening.
We do need to pause here.
Can I
Bex,
just say,
can you please
he
introduce?
Yeah, this is Munchie. He's the loud dog. Hopefully not that loud dog, but he's a bit of a loud dog. And he has never done this before, so it means he's definitely just wanting it to do it for the views. Thanks, Munchie. We appreciate
Sorry,
you.
I couldn't.
Follow
remember.
Munchie, our dog
had to
Munchie
be
on
addressed.
Instagram for
We love
specifically
Munchie.
dog content.
I nearly stopped talking and just freaked out about
You did a
Munchie. And
really
I'm really
great
proud
really
of
well,
myself
like-
that
like-
I didn't.
So
Big
proud.
clap
So
for
proud.
that.
Very
That
well
was
done.
a lot.
Very well
It
done.
means a lot.
He's never been on
means
this
a lot.
sofa before. It was really funny to just. He was like, "Oh, they're filming. I see. Stardom. It is I."
So Mark, how was your week?
Right, yeah, no. I think it's a good idea to start with me because I think I need to go over the prompt.
What?
no.
This is
I
not
feel-
a
I
stage
feel-
to go over the
No,
prompt.
no. I feel discussion might be enough because I feel I have interpreted the prompt in a totally normal way, but I'm not sure I achieved. So as my understanding of the prompt was, it was he was a boy, she was a girl, and then we had to make it more obvious. That was kind of my
Yeah.
cool. All right, because then I was like the expanding of the Sk8er Boy universe. I was like, oh, people here for punk music and stuff are going to be disappointed.
In that case, I have misunderstood what the prompt was. Sorry.
I would
Wait.
say that the prompt is long and thus broad, and so open
Yep.
to interpretation.
I thought
would
it was to
say-
extend the universe.
It is
Just
all
the universe
of these...
in general.
No, like, I'm back to black
Tyrone wrote
holes.
us a paragraph on what to do with this prompt.
Your
which I
whole
can-
top 5 tips, Katie, was about extended universes.
Yes, and that's effectively what Tyrone wanted.
But I
Okay.
haven't made their situation more obvious. In fact, I've made it way more confusing. You're on, Mark.
Right.
I'll think
Okay,
about it.
okay. So
Let's-
maybe my
yeah.
week was better than I thought it was.
I thought it was
I thought
very
it-
funny that you'd fucked up the prompt, Mark, and now I'm
Yeah.
not finding it at all hilarious.
I'm still not entirely
I think as long as you
convinced,
make
but-
Tyrone smile, you have won.
Oh, then in that case, I've definitely not achieved the
Munchie one.
Munchie's one. This is yeah. So I wrote a bit. It was annoying. I didn't really listen to a lot of music in like when Avril Lavigne was out. I just sort of missed it for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Music in
using-
general,
I
or
was at-
Avril Lavigne?
just specifically Avril. No, music in general. I was out doing sports and things. I used to be very sporty.
Yeah.
I used to like football. Football was good fun to play. So I was yeah. So I had to like look up. I remember the song, but I did have to re-look up the lyrics, and then I spent about 3 days in a deep dive about what the true meaning of Sk8er Boy was.
Good.
Don't be a dick is kind of the takeaway. If I could summarize it.
Yep.
But yeah, but then I got bored with doing that and wrote something else.
I feel like every week on Happy Hour, Mark, that's your thing of like, I had this brilliant idea and then I didn't do it. I
get so
something
lost in the idea. 2 weeks for me, I need so much more time to procrastinate. I don't think you guys understand. Because
A
I
lot
get
of people intro their poems. Mark intros his process, which
That's
is
true.
unique.
That's
unique.
true.
so yeah, all right. So TLDR, my week was fine. It was all right. I've written a poem. I'm excited to see mine versus Kev's at this point.
Well, let's move to Bex then as a bit of a buffer. Bex, how did your writing process go?
Well, when I actually got round to sitting and writing the poem that I ended up doing, that was great. But I was distracted by this for the last week. To be fair, I had so many ideas for this challenge. I had like a lot of stuff I wanted to write. I like messaged Mark and was like, I had this idea, maybe we can do a collab, blah blah blah. And then Dog happened, and
Oh, I see.
Well,
Swinging through an ideas Mark's way.
Kev, come on. I knew I was going to need more than the day before the thing to write the poem.
I will have you know,
shade.
Bex. I write my poems the day off.
No, it's complicated. Haha. But yeah, I enjoyed what I ended up coming with. I think is like very quintessentially Bex. No one will be surprised by what I've written. I think everyone will be like, yeah, cool. Yeah, I focused
Excellent.
very particularly on one aspect of the song that annoyed me and formed a whole poem about it.
Fabulous.
Poetry by way of grievance, the best kind of poem.
It really is.
Can't get poetry from happiness.
Wow.
We
It's
named
not-
the show the wrong title.
Mark, that's Mark. If we ever do
Welcome.
personalized t-shirts, that's his quote.
You can't get poetry from
From
happiness.
happiness.
Nope.
Guys, welcome to Melancholy Hour. So Kev, how did you get on? Because now I'm concerned.
Oh, I mean, I wasn't concerned. Like, I usually come into these a bit like, I don't know, but I was like really confident I'd nailed it.
Yeah.
Less so now, because I was under the impression the specific time, because I've had a big week and we drink when we record these. So I base most of what I do off what you're saying in your top 5 tips, to be honest with you. So I watched that, and what my takeaway was I was to create like an extended universe. And
Yeah.
so I've done that, but I took a kind of like Marvel approach to it, where I've kind of spiced up the source material a little and made it more fit me. So it has nothing to do with Avril Lavigne or the song, really.
You know what my
So-
approach is, though? My approach is that happy hour is all about creative blossoming. And I love the fact that we can all get this niche, random, beautiful prompt and write completely divergent material from it. So as
Mine
long
is
as
definitely divergent.
oh god. So I'm excited. So let's stop nattering about it and let's get to some poems. Does that sound good?
Tyrone did the check-in. Does he have to go first? Where's his?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I want an answer to. Where's his?
Tyrone.
If he doesn't have a version of this, like in the comments, I'm gonna go mental because that's unacceptable for him to set this challenge and not have to do it.
He did mention to me that he went through a whole Sk8er boy phase like several years ago where he did write poems about it. So I think
Well,
that
I
there
wanna
are
see
ones
them.
out there. So guys, we
we're
will
not-
let you know. We will let you know if there are Sk8er boy poems by Tyrone Lewis, because yeah, we want to see the receipts. We want to see the receipts. But yeah, Mark, I'm intrigued. I'm gonna wield the power that I hold to make you go first.
Okay. I'll read it. I've explained enough in my entire ramble, so I'll for once I'll try and not talk too much. just Okie doke. He was a boy, she was a girl. That's all the statue showed. He was from here, she was from there. Both burdened the title heir in a war that had made more orphans than just them. Both sides knew the other well. This had been their whole lives. 2 decades of summits, meetings, and treaties, their childhoods a series of diplomatic missions. He taught her to fish. She taught him to whittle. It's easy to become friends when you're the only kids allowed in the war room. No more hide and seek. Capture the flag now, capture the capital. The other's face replaced with glorious purpose and the dead weight of honor. He readied his mace. You must never waver. She was cutest in the winter. She wore 2 cloaks rather than shiver in front of the troops. Her eyes made him want to surrender. Every moment with her was an adventure. She raised her axe. You cannot afford to lose. He still always drank juice. He fidgets when he's bored, but he's the first to run in eager. He's dumb, but a real leader. After hours, only 2 stood. This deadly dance, their last chance to discuss. The only way they knew how to talk to each other. 2 doomed to duel, buried desire, deprived. Neither survived. I like to think that they died together. But all the statue shows is he was a boy, she was a girl. If only some things were more obvious. Sorry.
It's really good. That's really cool.
I think that might be my favorite
Wow.
poem of yours that you have ever written. I think probably when you're reading it, you're just looking at the page, but I wish you could have seen all of us as soon as you got to the 3rd line, we all went, oh.
It's not uplifting. It's not an uplifting poem at all.
It's amazing. It's like a
Wow,
folk
though.
tale that would be sung by a bard in a tavern. Oh.
So that was going to be my fidget. I was like, oh, there you go. It's an interpretation of the statue. I made the prompts. What do you want?
You've got a
That
level in
absolutely
bard,
fits the
Mark.
prompts. Yeah. Wow, though, I have to ask, is it based on any like actual historic statues or just imagined? Wow.
It's the idea that kept coming back to me at the start.
Yeah.
It's in the idea that I was like going, for some reason, it was like he was a boy, she was a girl. And like the first lines I had was like, she favored axe, he wielded bow. I went, okay. I was like, but then that was just kind of where I ended up
I
taking it.
love how your brain works.
It's-
Allie.
I think there's a really interesting idea there to like transferring the medium to be like you've taken right. So the prompt is like flesh out or whatever this song.
Yeah.
And you've went, what if the song was a statue? And then really there's something like so galley about that. And I'm like, yeah, that's a really divergent way to go. You know what I mean? Like and then to wrap that up in also that kind of mythological, like almost D&D-esque, right? Like,
You've done both the challenges again, because that to me is like a story, like that's like a fairy tale.
The nursery rhyme.
In that
I wouldn't read
case,
that
I
to my
hate it.
kids.
No,
You wouldn't read that to children. That would be maybe an old-timey folk tale. But
So what is it about the song that you think provokes that image for you? Because
I
it's
don't
like
know.
There's not much like thematically that links in, right?
Because I'd spent a lot, because maybe this is like a few degrees too separate, because I started thinking about, I'd spent a load of days thinking about like that Sk8er Boy songs, going, right, what's kind of the thing behind it? And, it was that whole, like, don't judge someone because of a very arbitrary thing, right? You never know the potential of someone and all these things. And I guess I started thinking about that, and I kept coming into these weird fantasy moods. I guess I must have just been in a fantasy writing kind of brain. I've got a D&D game coming up at this, like, so like maybe that's why I'm in that headspace. But it was when, like, with Kate with the top tips about RPGs and that world building, and that's kind of, admittedly it's a bit lazy because it's a comfort zone for me, but in that bit of like, I don't know, I guess I quite like I was a bit worried because we're like statues obviously haven't got the greatest PR at the moment around what they represent.
Yeah.
But I think like in a positive light though, it's causing us to think about like why things are memorialized and how much we actually know about the people who are memorialized. Like as I think I made clear on the show, I don't go in much for patriotism, but like I think one of the most powerful statues is like the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, because it is that thing that is like representative of a person that we don't know the details of, right? And that sort of loss that can't be named, and the sort of casualties who aren't named and who aren't remembered in the same way. And I think that's a very similar thing to what you've done, is saying, well, someone cared enough to put up a monument, but we don't know. The details aren't there.
It's also, if I had to kind of do the thing, because I suppose the takeaway from like the Sk8er Boy and that thing was going like, there's always like more than meets the eye. There's always more than you can see. And with a statue or any piece of art, obviously that thing, like there's always more than you see. And it's exactly discussions like this and the reason that it provokes thought that kind of does. And that was kind of where I went. But I was like, it kept coming up sad. I tried to think of a happy way to do it. And I was like, outside of going, haha, and they lived happily ever after. And the way Sk8er Boy is like, I'm with the Sk8er Boy. I went, nah. I was just like, I really kind of was like going, yeah, like sometimes those shots aren't missed. And I think that's why Sk8er Boy obviously did so well, because it was that thing of like, haha, you didn't, and this is where it got him. But for a lot of people,
crazy, amazing way to interpret that challenge, Mark. Like,
it's a very,
like, can we pause so I can write a new poem?
I now really want to see the statue, which is frustrating.
Yeah, maybe it's like this is year 3200 and someone made an Avril Lavigne Sk8er Boy statue, and this 1,000 years in the future, in this desolate wasteland, two people come across this statue and create a history for it, like we do, when they do like, this is in a museum and they're like, this is a small pot, and you're like, it's not a pot though, is
and
it?
they find what they always find, a series of small walls.
But I'm glad you said that, because really I had that same thought, because I didn't have a statue in mind, and I was like, I wonder what that'll be the fun thing for me, is if people hear that. I like the idea. And I can't remember who said it. I think was it Joe Gilbert on the Loudcast about that idea of rattling around in someone's brain months after you've done it. I like that idea. That folk, like, wonder what the statue looked like, and they'll put a version of their statue, in the way the world's building D&D RPGs, that thing does. Everyone's seeing a different thing because it's collaborative imagination.
Katie pointed out recently that I've been writing a lot about like the absence of a thing, and I think that's like an interesting example of it, of where you're describing a statue but you never describe it physically. You describe it through the story of the statue, and I love that. Like I think she is right. I'm kind of on a kick of like how you write around the edges, right?
That's but it's like there's hidden depths to so much. That's why photography is interesting, right? You spend so long looking at a photo and going, oh. Also,
Bud, real poem, actual poem.
Did I do a real poem?
Yeah.
I did a poem. Yay!
Mark wrote a poem. That should not be something that we're that happy
about.
Everyone can cross that off their happy hour
Yeah,
bingo.
But it's so sad that I'll never read it again. So
I think you should.
Go
It's
back to
such
the
a good
weird.
piece.
oh, thank you very much, guys. It's like, yeah, I was very worried. So I'm sorry, Kev. I'm a bit more worried for you after that reception.
Oh, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay.
What a segue. Kev,
Hello.
do you have anything you'd like
As if
to
you
share
haven't
with the
been talking
class?
for the last half an hour.
How can I help? What can I do for you?
I desire a poem.
I get that. Just had one though, didn't we? It was nice. No, it's
Okay.
good. It is a poem. That's the thing. It was kind of nice
Our
because
standards are so low. It is a poem.
Yeah. I've written in a very quite a me style actually, but one I haven't kind of done in a while. I think I've been writing, even when I've not been writing strictly to a form. I think I've been using more kind of structure and stuff in my poems, and it was kind of nice to play a bit more fast and loose. Still a lot of rhyme and stuff because it's what I do. I have tried to write poems that don't rhyme at all, and it's the hardest thing you can possibly do. I don't understand it.
It's got to be one somewhere, or I can't, or it doesn't sound like a poem. Doesn't feel like the rhythm's off for some reason.
Yeah,
it's when your style involves that
personally.
chain rhyming, and I think especially internal rhyming, because it's the same with me. I can't turn it off. That's how I write poetry. It's
the next line automatically, my brain files through options and
Yeah.
goes, oh, that one rhymes, use that, and you're like, okay, I will. But yeah, so it's very much like that. But what I'm against this prompt quite vocally. I've spoken to Tyrone between these podcasts. He understands my position, and so I was like, I'm not going to engage with this. So I was like, extend the universe. That's what I'm going to do. But like I said, I took a more Marvel-esque approach where I kind of, spiced it up a little bit. So it's a kind of reimagining, I guess. We were salt and cinnamon, never in rhythm. We walked separate paths, but they always led back together. She danced and I played. We both toured the world, but at the end of the day, no matter the distance, we'd still find a way to tell the other our story. I love you was always the last thing she'd say. The letters are standard. They come with the gig. Most are just fans saying hello, asking for a signed pic. It's not like the pile was ever that big, so occasionally I'd flick through them, try my best to reply, tell them I appreciate the support, be a nice guy. But there was this one girl who wrote me, and it was innocent at first, just questions about how I got started, my earlier work. It flattered my ego to see her caring so much. Maybe I shouldn't have indulged her, let her get carried away. I got to the point I was getting a letter every day. I'm coming to your next show. Can I meet you backstage? She was younger than I expected. Mid-20s at most. She must have been nervous. She hardly spoke. We took a few pictures. I cracked a few jokes. She seemed to relax. We had a good chat. I thought it went well, and that was that. But as she was leaving and we were saying goodbye, I reached to shake hands, saw tears in her eyes. I asked her what was the matter. She started to cry. She threw herself at me, collapsed, no time to react, a kiss, a moment before I had the chance to pull back. Tension, deflection. Oh, my wife won't like that. A face that now haunts me, drops, turns, disappears in a flash. I told my wife the story. She understood. She laughed, said, be more careful in future. I love you. Always her last. Weeks passed before the next letter. Not sure what I expected, but certainly not for it all to escalate so fast. No apology, no attempt at explanation, just a bizarre reframing, anger at the betrayal of some supposed relationship we'd had. I didn't know what to do, so I just never wrote back. But my lack of reply didn't knock her off track. How could you do this? How could you hurt me so much? Run off with her, abandon our love? She doesn't understand you. She's after money and fame. If she'll hurt you once, then she'll do it again. I won't let it happen. I'll protect you, I promise. Look at this photo, you'll see that I'm honest. My wife and her brother, laughing outside some bar, taken from across the street. Someone parked in their car, it falls to the floor as I reach for my phone. A short distance, suddenly impossibly long, gravity sinks, time sways. The call never answered. More than one life stolen away. I love you were always the last words she would say. So just to explain, when I read because I didn't listen to the song once, I'm not engaging.
Oh
When
my
I
God.
read the lyrics to the song, and I was like, well, this is psychotic, like from any angle. Like, if your friends don't like a dude and you're like, oh, well, I guess I can't, then you don't get to go back when he's rich and famous. And that is not a reason to suddenly go back because he's rich and famous. If they then tolerate him because of that, then they are fickle as well. So you shouldn't know any of them. And if you are his current partner, you shouldn't gloat and preen and write a mean song about it like a knob. Like, so I was just like, and I found that idea interesting. And so I was like, what's a more plausible situation here? And
True crime.
weirdly, well, it was weirdly, I was like, because I didn't like the premise of the song, because I was like, Kate and I, like, we are very different. We, have a relationship, and like, I think there's a thing in there if I was a bit of a fucking punk kid, right? And she is an actual ballerina. And so there's that aspect of it I found quite interesting, but like, I think that's our great strength because we do different stuff and we like come back together and share that stuff. Like, it's interesting. And so I wanted to get at that. And I was like, I went for a kind of Gone Girl vibe where it like, is setting up maybe to make him seem adulterous and then twists and it's like, oh no, she's invented. So I'm basically changing the context. The song is her, like my character's written that song because she thinks that's real.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like the kind of whiny song a psychotic murderer would write.
It's wild because I and I'm not saying
If
you've
Avril Lavigne
combined.
I mean, Avril Lavigne's not going to watch this, I'm sure. I'm sure she'd have
Or
nothing but
is
nice
she?
things to say about you, Kev.
She's great. I like it, but I don't think it's a great song.
I agree with you on the pettiness. That is what my poem is based off, but we won't get into that yet. I really loved yours because again, it's got like the twisty moment in that middle where it's kind of like, I can see that. I've got like a lot of YouTubers who are friends. I got like a lot of people who I know who are like quite popular, and they get like weird messages and shit like this all of the time. Like, you would imagine that is a legitimate concern, right? Especially if someone were to like take a picture of your wife and be like, she's cheating on you, and it's like, fucking brother. Like, yeah. I like it a lot. It's dark though. I hurt afterwards. I feel really bad, but
It's a really interesting look at sort of celebrity in that sense. And it's funny because I was thinking about, when you said it looks at the perspective in Sk8er Boy, because that's the thing. I think when you think about the song Sk8er Boy, you're like, oh, he was a boy, she was a girl, la, 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 la. But then it's that twist at the end where it's, I'm with the Sk8er Boy. He said, see you later. Like, and you realize that it's a different speaker. It's his current partner. So I love this idea that actually, going back to a previous challenge of Happy Hour, the song Sk8er Boy has an unreliable narrator who is actually a fan who is obsessed with the Sk8er Boy and his actual wife, the ballerina, and has created this alternate narrative in which she is with the Sk8er Boy. It's bonkers, and I love it, is what I'm trying to say. So well done. Points for imagination. Gally, what do you think? Does this pass muster?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think you had any reason to worry. I think in any sense that absolutely meets the prompt. And I think that's a really interesting, I think that's a very like cool and interesting take on it as well. I love because again, to refer back to another one I remember, I think you were chatting about, is the use of like, not tenses of like the pronouns, because it's all from the I, from the first person perspective. And I think that's absolutely necessary because it kind of like, you're like, especially up to the adultery bit, you're like, is he trying to sell the story? Well, it's not my fault. It's not my thing. And then you go, but it's the fear of being in those shoes that then is actually what draws you in. But I just find it very interesting that you go like, I don't want to. From going, oh, I don't want to get into the mindset of like a monster, and you've done that. I don't have to. You're going, I'm in the victim, but setting them up as the monster is a very like, or is the
Well,
for
not
that
the
person, not
victim.
the
I mean,
monster.
Yeah,
a victim,
I mean, the
but
victim
person,
is
like,
sorry.
yeah,
yeah, the victim. Yeah, sorry, not to mislabel it. Yeah, I think my point's getting across, but it's just very interesting use of that from the perspective of it, and as well from the thing like from the start. I'm going, yeah, absolutely, because go from that, because that was my thing. I've listened to it a few times from that guy. I'm going, if she'd come back after all these years, I suppose with any girlfriend, partner, from 5-10 years ago, however long, you're going, oh, you'd look like inside, you're like, I'd love them to be like, I was wrong, you're so cool. But you're like, but that would be the weirdest thing in the world if they did it. You'd be like, this is not okay. And so that's, yeah.
It's like you're introducing my poem for me.
Oh, well, there you go. Hang on, just like, I've got a skateboard, but if I didn't, I would probably have a Segway.
Segway.
Oh, my job here is done, lads. Yeah, Kev, that was genuinely a fantastic poem. Thank you. And I really like the approach that both you and Mark have taken with sort of being a bit more narrative in your pieces this week, because I feel like you've both really explored like various forms and gotten a bit experimental and innovative with your work. And so it's
this was
really
very
nice.
this was very weird to write just on that, because like I did a strange thing I don't think I've ever done before in a poem, where I've done like quote marks, like for like someone is speaking here.
Yeah.
I
like
have the same thing. I have 2 quote marks in mine.
And I've never done that before, but I'm like, oh no, there's points where it's him, like his monologue, and then there's bits of where it's like lines someone else is saying. I was tempted to get one of you to like read the quote parts, but then I was like, that's too elaborate, so I won't bother.
Could make a video out of it someday, Kev, though. That'd be good fun.
And upsetting.
Indeed.
Oh,
and very upsetting. It's a dark poem.
Poetry is what is it? Happiness doesn't make
you don't get happiness
from
you don't get poetry from happiness.
Just on that, because I think when you look at like the mediums for delivering things, and it's something I think a lot about, like what story you try to tell and what medium you try to tell it in and how that affects it. Like when I think of this, like the reason I say Gone Girl is because I think of it kind of more as like a movie. I'm like, that'd be a good movie, right? Like this dude, and it's like maybe a mentor relationship, and it seems set up to be one way, but then it's like underpinned. Also, I probably wouldn't write a movie like that because it's portraying like a woman as the crazy murderer, which is almost never the case. But you know what I mean? Like it would work as a story, right? And it would have much more in it. There would be that build up, and then there would be the gap, and then there would be the return, and these ever increasing layers of, oh no, she thinks we're already together, right? Whereas in this, the way I've tried to put it is that it's his like almost stream of consciousness. It's like a blink and you miss it thing, right? She wants to be backstage, and then suddenly she is, and you're like, were there other people? In my head, I'm like, he didn't meet her alone. He's not like, you know what I mean? He's not looking for that. So like, that situation is seen by more people, but in his mind, it's been boiled down to the two of them, and it's these very quick instances. So that bit where she's like, I won't let him hurt you, I won't let her hurt you, that's over like loads of time, this like crescendoing thing. So it's I think it's
you do a good thing at the start before your twist, because you get him to describe himself as a nice guy, which is like big red flag. I'm a nice guy, why don't you like me?
Yeah, because it's supposed to feel like that. You're supposed to, because I think twists for twist's sake, I'm not a huge fan of, but I think they have an important narrative function. Twists, I think an unsettling story. It's why M. Night Shyamalan's twists work so well, because unsettling stories are made even more impactful by a sudden shift in narrative, because that unsettles you further. And so you add camera angles and music, and then a big narrative structure, all of which is framed around making you feel uneasy. And a horror movie that does that really works. So I feel in these sort of tense, I'm trying to make it sudden and frightening. Her turn is supposed to feel that. And so having a literal twist, it's not there just to be gimmicky. It's like, it does something structurally to the piece, I think. Oh, big words.
That was
so clever.
I only drink on the show. I write them sober. Yeah.
That's
The
where I've been going
reverse
wrong.
Hemingway
I see.
is what we call that.
Okay.
Well, yes, let's move on to our final poet of the evening with that beautiful skateboard segue. Bex, I am so excited to hear yours.
Okay.
So
So we've
excited.
kind of touched a little bit
Take us
about what
home.
it is, what the topic it's on, or the thing that I fixated on, which is, Sk8er Boy is a bop. We love it. We dance it. It's cool. It's classic 2000s pop, punk, whatever category she defines it in. But I do think it's a little weird to write a song about your partner's 5-year ago relationship. That's a bit like
It's a bit
that's a
obsessive.
bit
She's
weird.
gloating. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just like that's pay weird bullshit. So and I never like it when a woman doesn't get to say her piece. So thus I have written a poem from the perspective of the ballerina in Sk8er Boy.
Yes.
And obviously,
Oh!
because I wrote it, it's a pun poem. So there are a lot. This poem has more puns in it than any other poem I've written. And if you
I'm
could
gonna
tell
be
me,
so confused.
Me too.
no, it's fine because all of her song titles are arbitrary bullshit fan fiction, so it's super easy to put into a pun poem.
Love you,
But
Avril.
if
Come on the
anyone,
Loudcast.
but if anyone guesses correctly the number, like tweet me, and if you guess the right number, I don't know, I'll give you a copy of my book or something. I don't freaking know. But anyway, I'm gonna
Never been more
go
excited for anything. Boys,
Tyrone,
you
are
did
you ready to
great,
get a free
but,
copy
yeah,
of poetry for
it's
cows?
time. It's time.
Okay,
I'll
so
just sit
Sk8er
back
Boy,
and relax.
a response. What the hell? Darling, you've got to stop. For real, it's time you get over it. Is it too much to ask that you move on? Stop telling everyone I'm a ballerina or a dumb blonde. I'd like the past left behind, forgotten. This complicated narrative you've invented as if I'm interested. As if I care that I'd freak out at a show saying, love me, love me. Insane. All about a boy I didn't even want in the first place. I don't give a shit about him. He wasn't my world, my happy ending. He was just a Sk8er Boy. And when we said goodbye, there was no hello heartache, no unanswered whys, because I knew I can do better and he knew he wanted a spliff. Remember when you told me you were dating? Your smile was contagious, like sipping on sunshine. Then together you slipped away. You were falling fast and he was a birdie flying high. He always said he'd give up tomorrow. You swam to keep your head above water, and I didn't even have to try because I'm nobody's fool. When I met that boy, I knew the lights were on, but no one's home. And you're still singing that song from 17 years ago, dragging me through the mud for being a high school girlfriend of your longtime crush, your lies spreading things I'll never say. You get to be on stage. How does it feel? Is that not enough? Surely that's the best damn thing. Better than being unwanted, better than bitching summers and being hot. Who knows? This push for you to move on might give you what you like. It's time to run away from this anthem, this Alice bashing diss track that has surrounded my life, a souvenir of a time long past. And you keep holding on to this petty bad girl image, this prep hater, cargo pants wearer. Don't tell me you're not like one of those girls. You're edgy, you're rock and roll, anything but ordinary, yeah. And so unique. When you're gone, there's another just like you down the street. Let me go. Tell me it's over and move on like I have before you end up crazy and alone. Who knows? Maybe you'll get over me someday. Thank you.
Oh, I've never been happier
I knew what you wanted, Tyrone.
in my life. I love you so much. Oh
You're
my
welcome.
God.
It's not like as
So many
poetic as
songs.
anything that the boys have written.
Yeah, but
there was
that's
a
the
lot
thing
of
so
for
puns
many
in
me.
that poem.
That's great.
Pun poems take a lot of skill. Like
Yeah.
I suck at pun poems, but I think the one thing is and why I suck at pun poems, and I think the trap a lot of people fall into, is it doesn't really work. They're very forced. Whereas as someone that doesn't know any of those puns, that was surprisingly coherent for something that I already know to be a pun poem. Like most people cop out and just do like a basic love story. Like, you know what I mean? For most pun poems, it's just like whatever. Whereas that is like a complex story. That's very good.
Thank you.
I every time you said a song title, the song started playing, and then there was another one, and then that was
Yeah.
majestic. But yeah,
Because
as
I think
Kev
they have
said,
like
yeah.
one that's a series of 3 different songs
Yeah.
back to back to back in one sentence. So yeah, it's a lot.
Very, very well done. But no, I mean, yeah, as Kev said, that is hard to do in a way that still makes it have a narrative and seem natural, and like making valid points about like, yeah, the ballerina gets sort of slighted in the song, and oh sorry, I need to recover. You guys have a chat about that
No,
poem.
I
I'm like,
love that.
I'm
Bex.
blown away.
In a very nice turn. I think everyone did very like poems very in their kind of style, but with the nice twist. That's a very you perspective like way to do it. Like I know you're like a fan of like
I don't know whether it
6,
counts
which
as
is like
puns or whether it's reference or whatever.
no,
but-
I think that counts as pun poem because again, it's hard to like to layer them in, and you've done a very succinct story.
There was way more than you think, by the way. There absolutely is more than whatever number you guys are thinking. I don't. It's probably more than that, but yeah, it's not quite all of her songs. Some of them were just where I was like, how am I going to fit hush hush in? Like, what the fuck?
I was wondering if we were going to get the I don't like your girlfriend, but then I was like, how would you? Because it's a poem.
But that's just called Girlfriend.
Oh,
That's
is it just
the title
called
of the song is
Girlfriend?
So
that makes sense.
yeah.
So that is in.
So that's why I'm the high school girlfriend of your longtime crush.
That's another very whiney song. That's like the other.
It's I imagine they're the same. I imagine they're written about the same person. I think she's just obsessed with this like one girl from her high school, and she hasn't been able to like get the fuck over it.
We never hear about what Avril was like in high school, though, do we? We only hear about what she's like now.
I suppose Grumpy smoking under the bleachers doesn't make for a very great catchy song title.
Why am I just thinking of this as an option now? Oh, that would have been.
I'm really, you know what I'm proud of us? None of us went for the Avril Lavigne conspiracy theory that she's not the original.
Oh, that she's a clone. Yeah.
Oh, that she's a clone. Yeah, that's true.
Just women age. Yeah. Like there is one way to define that conspiracy theory, which is that women age. And people need to understand that.
It's the bit of conspiracy theories that I love is that because we have the ability to like replace a person, but that we do it with Avril Lavigne.
No one in the CIA.
It's this huge, massive that would take unfathomable manpower, resources, like paid actors to then be silenced and not tell it. It relies on so much, but that we'd use it to keep Avril Lavigne's secret rather than like if a world leader had died, you know what I mean? Like, or a massive CEO of a corporation, but no, Avril Lavigne got to keep that. I'm like,
CEO, I
guess.
I mean, in terms of cultural value, though, I think we can all agree.
And if cloning
at the peak,
I don't think we can. Bex, the one thing I wanted to say is because I find it very difficult. I've done it minimally. I had a poem called The Game, and I wrote some sort of spin-off poems that were from other people's perspectives. And as a narcissist, I find it very difficult to do. So like, I mad props because you so often manage to like totally inhabit other folk, and
I don't really write poems from my perspective. I'm like, I have to deal with me all the time. I'm going to pretend to be someone else for a couple of hours and write about it.
But it's another good example, this one, of how, because it's something I said before to you of like how you found a very masculine voice even within your own tone, and Gally makes a spot on point of like, I think this was very, a Sherwood classic, but even within there, like it's hard to describe what I'm saying. It's like you keep a very authentic to yourself, like, but
conversational.
Yeah, but also manage to inhabit a character. But it's like when someone does a good version of a person, they're not doing like a straight impersonation.
Yeah.
They're more trying to find like their vibe, and you do that very well.
The attitude and the tone, were excellent. Well, guys, I would love to chat about Avril with you until the end of time. I don't want to ever put a limit on this conversation. Those sounded like they were puns.
I do.
They
were. I assumed they were. I started drinking.
I assumed they were puns.
Back to this.
Now Avril needs to write some new songs with those titles.
I'm sure she's our best friend after listening to this.
Nothing but totally respectful.
But we are rapidly running out of time, and we need to choose our next challenge. So Mark Galley.
No, right, no. I'm gonna stop because you're gonna be disappointed, but I don't know. It's Avril Lavigne. It's all about music. So I don't have a song for you today. What I have is a personal mantra I've had to create to get me through doing these particular segments. All right, so here you go. Here's what I repeat to myself every time I have to, before I think about doing this. Calm down. What's the panic for? It's fine. You've sang on here before. And if that was all it was, it'd be fine, because I like the pieces that we write and excuse to drink tonight. Plus the chat we have is fun, but it's become something else, a bi-monthly test. I'm reading it back, but I can't relax. I'm trying to be cool, won't look like a fool, but please tell me, why'd you have to go and make the name so complicated? I feel the title could have been anything else. It's so frustrating. Why this one? It could be short, could be sweet. This is bleak, but we take what we get and we turn it into poetry. But promise me we are going to talk about this fucking name. It's the Poetry Pint Glass of Poetic Challenges.
Poetic chances.
Better than all 3 poems.
Yeah, beautiful. Why didn't you just do that?
Amazing.
Well done, Galley. Well done. That was so good that I'd imagine we're going to get a copyright claim on this video because you sounded just like Avril.
Just tried so hard to not be mutual in tone there. I knew it was a dangerous gambit.
It took me way too long to clock what the fuck was happening. I mean, Kev had no idea because he's never
I
heard
understood when he
before.
said it's so complicated. I went, I know that's one from the song. Yeah.
I did a Google, found some songs. There you go.
Beautiful, and we love you.
So pick out what the next thing that'll be.
Yeah,
we got.
All right.
Talking smack about overly elaborate names. Mr. Loud Poets Mixed Martial Poetry Ultimate Writing Championship Grand Prix Tournament Invitational.
It's so easy to remember. So you rattled it off. It's been, what, like 4 years? UWC GPT Invitational. It rolls off the tongue.
Right. Let's move on from this challenge. Tyrone, thank you. We've had a ball. It's time. I've had a ball. It's time to pick another one. So guys, can I get an Avril Lavigne drum roll, whatever that means to you?
Angsty drum.
This is horrible.
Nobody loves me.
We took a
We're all terrible people. I protest that.
She was a girl.
Awful
I know 2
treatment
songs, Katie, and
of
both
my
of them are
icon.
really whiny.
Fair. All right, the first potential challenge is to write an acrostic poem.
Ooh, all right,
Love
back to some
acrostic poem.
form. All right.
So this one was proposed
Soul
by
mode.
our love, Georgia Barlett-McNeil. Georgia, you're our bae. And Georgia wrote a really stunning poem during NaPoWriMo, which was an acrostic poem, which I'll find and will somehow link to below. But Georgia plays so much with various forms. And so I think this one could be a lot of fun to write an acrostic poem. So I'm going to pull out the other option. Then you guys will have a chance to...
Drum roll, drum roll,
You're so cruel.
We took turns so quickly.
She's been
I
through
wrote a
a
whole
lot.
diss track
But
poem
she gets to spread
bashing
out
her.
several clones. So
She's
it's
had a
not so
long
bad.
career.
She got to be married to Chad Kroger. She's had it good.
That's
she's
true.
fine.
Oh, write a poem about being 17.
Oh,
Yes.
no.
This is from our love,
No.
Carl Alexanderson.
Oh,
Carl,
I love Carl so
I
much.
love how the mood changed from hatred of the challenge to love of the challenge proposer.
Carl's too good.
Love Carl. He's a gem of a human and a beautiful, beautiful poet.
Just got BBC
So
words
these
first.
are
Yeah, I was just about
Yeah,
to say, these are the
like-
words first.
Awesome.
Did.
Yeah.
Congrats, Carl.
Congrats.
Smashing it. So yeah.
Oh, I can't
These
hate
are
the
our
prompt
options.
now. And well, we know about being
Not happy.
17. I'm gonna ask
Not
now because
happy.
is it about us being 17 or just about being 17, the experience?
We were not
It's about
given any
17
further
again,
details.
starring Zac Efron and
Yes.
the guy who plays Chandler from Friends, whose name I've forgotten.
Trying to remember what I was doing when I was 17, and I think I can remember why I can't remember.
Drinking a lot.
Yeah.
Ooh, no,
So,
let's
yeah,
not. I was like a
preferences.
huge jock when I was 17. Let's not do that. I did like a load
Or
of
you just
sports
write
stuff.
about someone else.
Our
Someone else?
17-year-old selves would not have gotten on, Gal.
Almost
I don't
certainly
think
not.
any of
would have
us,
gotten
we
on as
would not have
teenagers.
liked each other at 17.
We've just
I
sold the
Because think about your
17.
late
We've
20s,
just,
early 30s.
we just sold that over Acrostic a bit.
I
didn't we?
like Acrostic because I think when people think of it, it's quite a simple form, right? Like it's an introductory form, but I think that in itself has like an inherent challenge to like make that really interesting. Like, because I don't like really writing super short poems, like shortish, but I like to get a bit into it, and I think it makes you, that is harder to do the longer you have to go. It kind of becomes a inverse a right way around golden shovel, because a golden shovel is an inverse acrostic.
I was going to say it's very similar to a golden shovel. I was just thinking there. I was like, there's probably some interesting crossover with acrostic and golden shovel that you could do.
It would be fun to do it that way. Yeah. To like take a poem and make it each word the start word of a line instead of the end word.
Like the title of the poem is the acrostic,
think-
but the golden
yeah.
shovel is the first however many lines you can get, or something like that. If acrostic
Already
wins,
thinking
mine.
about
Like
and we
form,
haven't
Mine.
even
we
chosen
have
our
forms in our
challenge.
form, so we can form while we form.
More form. Bex, do you have a preference, acrostic or 17?
I didn't really like me, and now I don't really like how I was at 17. At the time, I thought I was the tits, but like now I'm like, no, you were not. But I think that may be kind of fun, right? For me, I always find it hard to write perspective stuff, so it'll probably just be some arbitrary person who's 17. But I don't think that's really the point. Maybe if we choose the 17 one, I'll try and write like a perspective-y thing or something. But if we do acrostic, then I'm chill with that. That's form. Love me. I did an acrostic poem for my pamphlet that we ended up cutting that Katie didn't even notice was an acrostic poem.
That's because it was about eating cows, and it was out of place in a pamphlet about cows, and I felt very uncomfortable.
Yeah, but it was delicious.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, so guys, we have mixed views on this, but luckily we don't have to make decisions because our lives are hard enough. You get to make the decisions about which challenge we take on next. So either we will be writing acrostic poetry or we will be writing poems about being 17.
No one will be writing an acrostic poem about being 17, or I swear to God, I'll flip out.
We always end up doing it. We
always end up combining challenges. So let's.
Although a good acrostic is 17, if you just use the numbers, I reckon I can get a good short one out of that.
Gonna have to really pad out the next episode. If we get across, everyone writes like 4-line acrostic poems or whatever.
Well, this is my poem. It's called Dog.
Guys, please do vote. So there are a couple of different ways that you can vote. You can comment in the comments below, either write 17 or acrostic. You can also vote in our Twitter poll.
Vague. That's gonna be great on Twitter. Just like 17.
Acrostic.
Maybe we should be being 17.
Being 17. Or in any case, you can comment below, just make it clear. And you can also post in the Twitter poll, vote in the Twitter poll and vote in the Instagram poll. And guys, there's going to be an episode. It's going to be great. We're going to write poems and it's going to be fabulous. But in the minute that I have left before wrapping up this episode, I do want to do some teasers. You saw a little bit in the last challenge that we broke out of our Zoom boxes to be in real life, and we are doing more of real life. I'm having trouble with this whole distinction between real life and whatever this is. I'm
IRL and URL.
And that's why we pay you the big bucks.
You don't pay me any big bucks, you liar.
We are coming back to live performance. So we are absolutely over the moon to be doing the Edinburgh Fringe. This will be our 7th run at the Fringe. It will look a little bit different this year. We're not flyering, thank Jesus. But we have a lot of other measures in place to protect public health as we are returning to shows. We're so excited. You can follow us on all of our social media to learn more about the shows, and we have put a link to tickets below. So happy hour will be continuing. Some things might get shifted about a bit. We will see what happens, but do not fear. We are still here for you, you beautiful online audience. You have stuck with us this far, so let's be real, you deserve nice things. Thank you so much for watching the show. Please do sign up to the Patreon if you want to submit your own challenges. Although if you want to submit anything related to Nickelback, just wait a little. We're very tired. This took a lot out of us. So, give us a moment to recover. But guys, thank you again for watching this. Please do like, subscribe, all that good jazz, and we will see you next time. So everyone, please say cheers.
Cheers!
Cheers.
Cheers.